If tennis elbow is driving you crazy with pain and frustration, watch this video to learn how to recover. Hey, it's Alicia and Brody from Be Mobile. We've seen a lot of cases of tennis elbow, which we know firsthand can be crippling. You might have difficulty picking up and carrying objects, unscrewing lids, or doing activities you enjoy that involve gripping.
It can really interfere with your everyday life. So in this video, we're going to discuss what is tennis elbow, what causes it, the prognosis, 3 exercises you can do which help, and whether or not you should wear a brace or a strap. So let's get into it.
Tennis elbow is a term used to describe pain on the outside of the elbow, which can extend into the forearm. It's also known as lateral elbow tendinopathy because it involves the forearm extensor muscles and their tendons, which attach right here. Tennis elbow can result from an overload of these tendons when performing repetitive upper limb activities like computer use, heavy lifting, gardening, or using tools.
However, oftentimes tennis elbow can arise without any single obvious cause. We do have good news for you though, because tennis elbow gets better.
Research shows that 90% of persistent cases get better with no treatment. So this means that there's a really high likelihood of a spontaneous recovery.
It's also important to note that corticosteroid injections do not improve long-term recovery. They may offer some short-term pain relief, but there are some harms and the risks need to be considered, especially given that tennis elbow will very likely get better on its own anyway.
Though tennis elbow improves without treatment, research shows that conventional physio exercises targeting the forearm extensors combined with shoulder exercises are effective at reducing pain and improving function.
So let's get into 3 exercises which you can do right now. Our first exercise is wrist extension. That means lifting the hand and wrist up like this. It helps to do it with your forearm supported on a table. By doing this movement, we're working at building the strength of these forearm muscles and the load tolerance of the tendon where they attach. Once you can tolerate it, you want to do it with a weight. A small dumbbell like this works well, keeping the forearm supported and slowly lifting the wrist up and down. If you don't have a dumbbell, you could use any object from around your house. Something like a water bottle works really well. So that is the wrist extension exercise. Now you might be wondering how much you should continue to use your arm and elbow in everyday life. The answer is you might need to back off from aggravating activities a little bit to allow things to settle down, but you should still try to use your arm, hand and elbow in any way you can comfortably manage. Ebbs and flows in pain are a normal part of the recovery process, so some days it might be a little bit more sore and other days it might feel better. Now, when it comes to this wrist extension exercise, if using the weight like that is too intolerable, you can start with what we call an isometric hold. With the forearm supported, use your other hand to apply a bit of resistance to the back of the hand and just hold still. We're still loading those same muscles, but this can be a little bit more tolerable of a starting point. Something like a 30-second hold for that one works really well. Otherwise, if you can tolerate the weighted version, do 3 sets of 8 to 12 wrist extensions.
Okay, exercise number 2 are forearm rotation. So same setup as Brody. I'm resting my forearm on a stable surface and I'm starting with my palm down and rotating my palm up. And I'm going to continue doing that, which is working all the muscles in my forearm that are involved in things like manipulating objects, unscrewing lids, typing at a keyboard. So we want to build up the capacity of those muscles to do those certain activities. Now, if this feels tolerable, you can add a weight to make it more difficult. So if you don't have a dumbbell, you can use something around the house, any object, something like a hammer can be good. So I'm holding the hammer like that, and then same thing, I'm rotating from palm down to palm up. Now, if I want to make this a little bit harder, I can increase the length of the lever of the object that I'm using, like the hammer. So I'm going to move my grip down to the end of it. And now this is harder as I am having to rotate the longer lever like this. So really try to make these repetitions nice and controlled, nice slow movements to really get that muscle control. And you can do 3 rounds of 8 to 12 repetitions. We often get asked if wearing a brace or a strap is beneficial or necessary. The research on these is inconclusive as to whether they reduce pain.
However, braces and straps are relatively cheap, accessible, and don't really carry any risks. And certainly some clients we've seen have reported that they do help ease their symptoms, so it's something you could try. Exercise number 3 is called front raises. That means lifting your arms up and forward like this. We're particularly doing this to work the shoulder muscles because it's important with tennis elbow to keep those shoulders strong and healthy, because oftentimes you're not using that arm as much in everyday life. And also it can help with the pain. So standing, lifting the arms up and forward to about shoulder height and back down. We want to add a little bit of weight to this as soon as we can tolerate it. So you can start with one dumbbell, holding it with both hands, raising up to shoulder height and coming back down. From the side, lifting the weight up to shoulder height and gradually back down. And you can see that's working those shoulder muscles. Once you can tolerate it, put a dumbbell in each hand or another household object or weight, lifting the shoulders up, coming back down, up and down. And you can have your arm completely straight or a little bit of bend in the elbow, whatever feels most comfortable and tolerable for you. Now, on that note, you might have some pain around the elbow with any of these exercises. That is to be expected because we are loading a sensitive area. A little bit of pain with these exercises is okay, as long as it's tolerable for you, which means it's not leaving you too sore afterwards or the next day either. So try front raises with a weight you can tolerate, 3 sets of 8 to 12.
Okay, our bonus exercise is a plank. So let's firstly start on our knees, walking our hands out, trying to have a straight line between shoulder, hip, and knee. Now, the reason this is such a good exercise for those with tennis elbow is that not only are we working our abdominals and our shoulders, but we're taking weight through our elbows. And because our elbows are in a static position, a lot of people with tennis elbow find this exercise is very well tolerated. Now, to make it more difficult, I can do a full body plank. So I'm going to get rid of my cushion there and come up onto my toes as opposed to my knees, and still trying to maintain a nice straight line between my shoulder, hip, and ankles, really holding that position. And I can feel everything working in the plank. Now, I would recommend doing 2 rounds of 30 to 60 seconds. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see us cover another topic, let us know what it is in the comments below.